sauce.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are third. Saucy.
Yeah, that also.
Where you are in line.
Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. Welcome to the June 24th, 2024 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. This meeting is also being streamed live on YouTube and will be uploaded to the city's website. Please note that we are not accepting remote public comment during commission meeting. We ask that the public either attend the meetings in person to comment or send an email to publiccomment@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring emails submitted during the meeting, be read at the appropriate time. The length of the email comment should be commensurate with 3 minutes customarily allowed for verbal comments. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that 6 members of the commission are present this evening. Commissioner Camarado is absent. Agenda item number 3, request for AB 2249 remote participation. There are no commissioners participating remotely this evening. Agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes to review and approve this evening from the June 10th, 2024 regular Planning Commission meeting. Do we have any comments, changes, discussions, motions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of clarifications. Since I think I did a lot of talking during that meeting, I want to make sure it was done to properly express what was going on. So I'm on item 9A, which was the guidelines for determining the level of review required for changes to approved design review. The very first paragraph, so it just needs a couple of words in here and there. It says, I feel that 25% change to a window is a lot. I think it should say window size is a lot, comma, in particular, if it is cumulative, period. People may change just one window, comma, but it could be a lot of windows of 25% in any direction. And then it goes down to blah, 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 blah. Have often windows that go all the way up to the header. We've repeatedly cut those and then, but it would need to be re-engineered. My concern is that windows don't look great when made smaller all over, nor made larger all over. And that is what it was. It's just a few words we're missing. And then on page, see. Now I'm up to, it's page 8, about midway down. I think it was comment by Lynn Israelit. It's mid-page down. It says, but I am very leery of having a blank check for 10 p.m. when this administration may move. It says one, but I think it should say on. O-N, period. And that was it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Pfaff. Do we have motions?
Make a motion to approve the minutes with the edits that Commissioner Pfaff just went through.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Haran, seconded by Commissioner Say. I have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid. Aye. Commissioner Shores.
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-0-1. Agenda item number 5, approval of the agenda. Staff, are there changes to the agenda?
We have no changes.
Any recusals this evening? No recusals. Moving on. Agenda item number 6, public comments, non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for a future planning commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the planning commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on any item that is not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Robert Yorio. And I'm here to speak with neighbors about the environmental review and amendment to conditional use permit for Mercy High School Athletic Center. It was on the June 10th meeting. And I've reviewed the minutes and I have a few comments to said to the commission.
Sounds good. Please proceed.
My wife Kathleen and I live at 2325 Adeline. And here with me today are our neighbors Joan and Neswick and Jane Unger. And they live at 2335 Adeline Drive. And we have some concerns and our adjoining neighbors about the location, use, and access to what's referred to in the applicant's construction logistics plan as the construction parking laydown area. It's an area on the maps where construction equipment will be situated during construction and where the construction workers will come in and out to park on their daily work. And that location where you see it on the map is across the street almost directly from our property. It's particularly narrow, Adeline, at that proposed location. And the contractor's plan indicates that there will be 2 8-foot wide gates to accommodate the delivery of equipment and access for up to as many as 50 workers over the course of a 14-month construction project. That's a real problem for neighbors that live on Adeline and the adjoining streets, daily commuters who go down Adeline to El Camino in the morning and back in the afternoon, and parents and students who are driving and walking to either Lincoln Elementary, Hoover Elementary, Burlingame Intermediate, or Mercy High School itself. There's a lot of foot traffic in the morning. Parents walking kids, high school kids by themselves, elementary school students, some with parents, some without parents. And there are 4-way stop intersections from El Camino to the site that's where this construction laydown location is. I reviewed the comments about this area from the June 10th meeting. And from my reading of the minutes, there was an attempt to address this issue by noting that worker parking during construction would be at a lot inside the property instead of on Adeline, where there's clearly not enough parking spaces, including side streets. But that approach misses the main safety concern. Cars and trucks driving to the proposed site will greatly increase the traffic during morning commute hours. And equipment movers and workers will be traveling right next to the parents, students, and children walking and biking on their way to the neighborhood schools that I just mentioned.
Can you sum it up?
I will.
Thank you.
I think there's an alternative that I want to point out to the commission. If you look on the map, there's an area at the end of Hoover Avenue where there's a lot called the Eucalyptus Lot. And it's used for overflow parking. You see a sign there. And it seems to be big enough, and it's relatively flat, to accommodate workers who are coming on a daily basis. They could park there, be shuttled over to the construction site to their work, and then leave. It would greatly alleviate the traffic problems that are on Adeline with this proposed site for the construction laydown. I urge the commission to take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. We'll be sure to include those as part of our consideration.
Thanks.
Do we have any other public comments not on the agenda this evening?
And we received no public comment emails regarding non-agenda items.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, study items. There are no study items for review this evening. Agenda item number 8, the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. They are acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the applicant, a member of the public, or a commissioner prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt. This evening, we have one item on the consent calendar, item 8A, adoption of resolution updating the guidelines regarding the level of review required for after action changes to approved design review projects. Would any member of the public or planning commission like to pull this item for discussion? Okay, any other comments or motions?
My comment is I appreciate reworking this and when we were a full commission and could really hammer through a lot. So thank you very much, everyone. And thanks staff and Scott, attorney Scott.
Duly noted.
Oh, I don't have to do anything because we're just going to take a roll call vote, right?
You do need to make a motion
Oh, I-
second for a resolution.
I would like to make a motion to approve as written the item 8A.
I'll second.
Oh, okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Pfaff, seconded by Commissioner Stay. Do we have any discussion on the motion? No. May we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid.
Aye.
Commissioner Shores.
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-0-1. Agenda item number 9, regular action items. There are no regular action items for review this evening. Agenda item number 10, design review study. Item 10A, 1556 Balboa Way. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project?
I briefly spoke with Commissioner Shores. I briefly spoke with the property owner during the site visit today.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have the staff report, please?
I don't think it's working. Oh. This application is for design review for first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling located at 1556 Balboa Way, zoned R1. The applicant is proposing an addition to the first floor of 109 square feet that will infill the porch area along the left side of the house and a new second floor. The floor area would increase from 1,870 square feet to 2,860 square feet, which is the maximum allowed. The existing left side setback is non-conforming at 5 feet where 6 feet is required. There is no change to the non-conforming portion except the removal of the corner dining room. The first floor at the addition would have 6 feet side setback where 6 feet is required. The right side is also non-conforming, with the garage having 3-foot side setback where 6 feet is required. No change is proposed to the garage wall. The applicant has been informed if the walls within the setback are removed during construction, either an application for a setback variance will be required to replace the walls at the same location, or an application for a design review amendment would be required to show compliance with current setback requirements. Please also note there is an arborist report prepared and attached. The report was reviewed by the Parks Division that has determined the American sweet gum tree located in the front yard, which is a city tree, is to be removed due to the poor condition and replaced by a new Chinese pistache tree. The street tree must remain in place until building permit issuance. This concludes my summary of the staff report. Staff would also like to note that the Planning Commission received an email regarding the project from Mark Haberreck after preparation of the staff report. A copy of that email has been provided to you. Staff is available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? No? All right, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Hello. Hi, I'm Richie from Alexander Architects. I just want to quickly talk about this project that we're proposing. The second story addition of 1556 Balboa Way. So let's go to the floor plan since we look at the,
We don't have the full set of plans. We just display the rendering and the elevation.
okay, sure.
But the commissioners
Uh,
have the plans and
Sure, let's go back to the rendering if you don't mind. Thank you. So the existing house is a ranch style house, and what we're proposing is a combination of a modern farmhouse on top with vertical board and batten. And the lower floor would be a lighter tone of stucco and with a new covered porch with covered porch facing the street. And for the window, we're doing white window trim with black frame and minimal grits. And we're doing new dark gray calm shingle. And for the floor plan, if you look at it real quick, we're putting all the common areas in the back. Once you enter the house, we'll have a smaller master bedroom off to the side, and then the other side we'll have the living room. And going into the hallway, we'll have the stairs going up to the second floor, and we'll have a powder room to the right. And the garage is largely remaining. We're not really touching the garage, but we're doing a new mud room entering into the new family room. And on the second floor, we'll have a 3-2, so 3-bed, 2-bath. And we put the bathroom together and it's right above the kitchen for efficiency and simplicity in construction. And yeah, we can go to the elevation, please. So the existing house is a gable, but it's not really facing the street. So with a second floor, we would like to propose to have the gable facing the street for a better street frontage. And of course, the new covered porch for a substantial entrance experience. And we'll go to the elevation here on the left side, on the back. And if there's a section we can show real quick. Oh, no section, but it's fine. You have it on your print set. So the first floor existing is 8 feet top plate, and we're proposing to raise it to 9 feet plate height. And then for the second floor, we're gonna do 8 feet, since that's a requirement. We're doing 8 feet, and we'll have a vaulted bedroom and a hallway. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Emails?
we receive no public comment emails.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments or motions?
I would like to comment. A letter came in from Mr. Haberecht and actually had a very similar thought. Sort of the front for me, I feel like I don't know that it's holding the whole thing together. And I don't know if there's maybe another direction or if I'm the only one who has issues with that. It seems a little, I don't know, somehow not grounding it, to me, pulling it together.
I'll go.
Okay.
I appreciate the 3D views that you included because that really helps us to see what your design is trying to accomplish. I appreciate the new gable entry as a way to try and move away from the, full ranch style. But I agree with Commissioner Pfaff that I'm not sure that the second story is holding together with the first. It still wants to be a ranch, but we don't get too many ranches that are 2 stories. And so what it's looking like is, it's just looking like something that has been put on top instead of integrating into the design of the first floor. And I was kind of hoping that the front piece would do it, but it's not. And I think the other piece too is, now that you've turned the gable ends of the second floor towards the street, which I typically like, but with the board and batten going all the way up to the ridge beam, you're not getting much breakup there. And so then it's making the second floor look taller than it is. I mean, I can appreciate that you have an 8-foot plate height, got it, but it's then making it look disproportionately bigger on top on what is traditionally a low ranch style base. So having some scale challenges with it, and making it feel like it's integrated both top and bottom. In the back, the wraparound roof at the first level, it does break up a larger plane in the back in the elevation, but I'm not sure you're going to get to keep those rafters once you build the rest of the structure going up. And I would maybe suggest that it maybe needs either an overhang or a belly band or another way of differentiating that ground floor plane to the upstairs. And it's not that the material change, the dissimilar materials top and bottom bother me. That's okay. It's just that we're just not getting the scale to integrate quite right. And so that wraparound roof, I think, is not doing you any favors in the back. I see some great potential. I'm just, like I said, struggling with scale and a few of the items. And I don't know if that helps kick off others.
Commissioner Say.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I agree with what my fellow commissioners have just stated. I also, I appreciate seeing how this design is kind of trying to come together, but I'm having some issues with the proportions of the second story in relation to the main floor, in the sense of the window sizing. In some cases, like especially the rear, I think that that large window at probably the primary bedroom is, just look at it, looks like it's way out of scale in relationship to the multi-sliding door down below. So I think that can be addressed a little bit more carefully. I also think that there could be a better way to connect the upper floor with the lower floor rather than have that tiny bit of roof extension between the levels, and whether, like Commissioner Schmidt said, a belly band or some other detail. I think what's not helping too is that I don't mind the material changes either, but the vertical board and batten on the second story is making the upper floor look taller than it really is. And almost, you can't even tell that the main floor is 9 feet tall. I see that you did make that plate height change, but somehow the board and battens, it could be because there's nothing in the pediment area at the roof, at the eave ends there, that could maybe help bring that scale down a little bit. Another maybe change of material or direction of materials could help there. The roof slope, so I at first I couldn't find the existing roof slope, but then I found it. It's 5 and 12, is that correct? At least I finally found it on your roof plan. But then your new,
It's actually 4 and 12.
your existing roof slope,
Existing is 5 and 12, and we're proposing.
and the new is 4 and 12.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite understanding why the roof pitch is changing. Again, to try to, I would think that from a design perspective, you're trying to have the first story and the second story come together cohesively and represent some type of a unified whole, even though there may be material changes. That slight of a roof.
Both floors gonna be 4 and 12, by the way. The lower roof is completely gone.
Through the chair, if
Doing-
I can interrupt. We need to open up the public hearing if you want to ask questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is
I-
in our comment period.
It was confusing me. No, I'm trying comments, actually. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You can sit down.
Oh, should I say that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Problem.
I,
Thanks.
I thought it was a conversation.
oh, I see. The new is 4 and 12. Okay, I saw the existing was 5 and 12. Okay, right. So it's all going to be 4 and 12. I apologize on that. I feel like it's, the project is on the way to something, but is not quite there. I'm not sure if a design review consultant may be able to aid, this applicant in, pulling the design together cohesively. I think that also the front, the vertical posts at the front porch are a little thin. They feel a little fragile in terms of holding up such a large framed member over the front porch. So there's just like little details of proportion, size, and items like that I think needs maybe some help. I don't know if anybody else agrees on the design review consultant taking a look.
I'll go. So I agree with my fellow commissioners in general. I think you're going in the right direction. I like the massing of the second floor. I like the way it's set back. I don't mind the material change. I was confused why the overhang on the gable end is so narrow on the front of the house versus the back of the house. There's two different dimensions that you're showing. So it'd be good to have more of an overhang, I think, on the front. And just the roof eaves in general just look a little bit plain to me. I agree with my fellow commissioners on the front. It just needs to be beefier if it's going to make a statement. I'm also just concerned, you're taking down 49.9% of the walls. If you take an extra 5.5 inches of wall down, you've now exceeded 50% and you're going to have to come back. It seems that that's pretty close for a contractor to get on site, and you're at exactly the FAR. So if you make 10 square inches bigger house, you're just out of compliance. So it's just pushing it too close to the edge for me. For a renovation, it feels like something's not going to go exactly like that. So I'm just a little nervous about those numbers. I don't know that it's that far away. I think it's up to the applicant. The design review consultant is necessary. I think I'm supportive of that when the project seems to be a mile away from where we want it. This doesn't seem that far to me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all what my commissioner said and Commissioner Haran. What stuck out to me was a comment from the one of the neighbors. The front porch is beautiful. I agree with Commissioner Say. The posts need to be bigger. That's easy. But I feel like if you repeated that design somewhere in the eaves, maybe in the front, that might help a little bit of the plainness that's coming out. And to Commissioner Haran's point, like they're very shallow at the front, which I feel like they could use, the similar depth. Yeah, I'm fine going to design review, but again, I'm kind of in agreement that we're not that far off. So, I think that's a good. We don't necessarily have to stipulate that, correct? We can just suggest that they could request a design review consultant.
I mean, the motion should be clear, whether it should go to a design review consultant or come back regular action. If you decide to make a motion for regular action, I mean, the applicant still has that option to go to a consultant for help, but.
And we could continue it to another design review study, right? Or it has to be put on action?
You could, but I think you have enough here to
Put it on action.
put it on action or refer it to a consultant, one or the other.
Who wants to take a dive? Ms. Walker.
I was just going to add, I agree with basically everything. I think that the letter we received hit a lot of interesting points. I also think that posts could be a bit bigger, and even though the front porch system isn't exactly in line with the farmhouse style, I still think it's good, and I think it's attractive, and I think it does add a lot. So I think it's pretty close. I think all the pieces are here. So yeah.
I'd maybe would like to suggest, we have a lot of examples in the design review criteria to really help. And a lot of those were well thought out by people prior to us and architects who put a lot of effort into trying to help with the styles. And so I think there's a lot of, that you could take with that and apply, because I think you're close. It's just, there's a few things that aren't going your way right now. And if you don't address them, the next meeting won't go that well. So, but I think there's a lot to be said here.
Does anyone want to bring it back in action?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we bring it back on action.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Haran. Can we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Path,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Schnorrs,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-0-1. This action is not appealable. Thank you very much. Next item, 10B, 114 Bayswater Avenue. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Seeing none. Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
This application is for design review for a new two-story single-unit dwelling and detached garage located at 114 Bayswater Avenue, zoned R1. The applicant is proposing to demolish all structures on site and build a new two-story dwelling and detached garage. The project proposes a total floor area of 2,874 square feet, where 2,894 square feet is the maximum allowed, including a 28 square foot front porch exemption. The new dwelling would have a total of 4 bedrooms. The new detached garage provides 1 covered parking space and 1 uncovered parking space. All other zoning code requirements have been met. The project also includes an accessory dwelling unit attached to the detached garage. Review of the ADU application is administrative only and not reviewed by the Planning Commission. Staff has determined the ADU complies with ADU regulations. This concludes my summary of the staff report. Staff would note that the Planning Commission received an email regarding this project from Mike Nafziger after preparation of the staff report. A copy of that email has been provided to you. Staff is available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? Commissioner Path?
I have a curiosity question. So there's a porch exemption taken here. So did I understand that right? There's a porch. So why is that considered a porch and not just a regular door stoop where you walk in? To me, that's not a porch.
It's a recessed porch. So they do get it
Anything that's recessed
correct.
rather than just landing, you open the door and you land up.
Well, it has to be
Covered.
covered.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
So
the,
it could be recessed or it could
Got
project
it.
out. Yeah.
understand. Okay, thank you.
I just have a quick
Commissioner Say?
clarification question. I think I'm confused by the new, I forgot which assembly bill it was about numbers of bedrooms and parking, the one we discussed at our last meeting. So you mentioned that there are 4 bedrooms in this home and thus the requirement for 2 parking spaces. Doesn't the living room in this floor plan qualify as a bedroom because it is enclosed and?
The code now specifically calls out as living rooms as not being a bedroom. So no matter how it's enclosed or the configuration, a living room is not considered a bedroom. That's in the code definition.
Just by the title of the room? I feel like that was challenged before in a different manner. Okay, I just.
Under the zoning code update, we
got-
tightened that up a little bit more. We actually list the different types of rooms that are not considered bedrooms. And
Okay,
living room is one of those rooms. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
I'm the designer of this project. Yeah, we just want to share some thoughts about this. Why, yeah, if we choose this style because Burlingame has a lot of, this kind of high pitched roof. We choose this, to fit into the neighborhood and, to add, adding to the street appealing feel. Yet, I don't know if you have any questions for me? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Pfaff?
Yeah, just, did you receive the letter?
Yes.
Yes. So with regard to the, particularly with regard to the water issue, is that something that you
Mm.
understand and is being taken care of by Public Works maybe, or some kind of other, some layer of plans that we aren't seeing that will deal with the water?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, in the comments planning, at this planning stage, we received the comments about the drainage. I think it's okay. We are adding, we add the drainage on the other side, and we will do more details in the building permit stage. And for the fence, the same neighbor also raised the question about the fence. The existing fence is 5 feet high with 1 foot lattice on top of it. We will talk to him. If he's okay to share the cost, we can raise it to 6 feet with 1 foot lattice. Yeah.
Mhm.
That can be something you deal.
And also about the door on the east side, he want us to do frosted glass. We can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioners?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just a quick question. So I see at your front door that you have 2 risers up to the front landing and then another step up into the house. Did you consider maybe raising the level of the front porch so that there's a little bit more of a level transition between porch and finished floor inside the house,
Yes.
rather than have to step up?
Yeah, we can do that.
Mhm.
So not a big change, right? Yeah.
Right, and this is how you build out your front porch with an extra step, just a grander entrance.
Oh.
I find that detail.
Yes.
Let's see. And then, so your header, the little lintels above your windows, those are stucco?
You mean the wall material?
The little trim detail above your windows and I think your sills as well?
Yes, that's stucco.
Are they pre-manufactured product or?
Yes, so does the city has any requirements on this? On the headers, if there's any requirements, we can follow. If there's not, I think we can do like a pre-made.
No, I don't think there's any requirements, just kind of curious if it was pre-manufactured or whether it was gonna be a painted wood detail. Oftentimes we see a painted wood trim versus a
We would prefer to do stucco.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes.
No public comment emails received.
All right, then we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments?
Go ahead.
Commissioner
I think this is quite well done, very attractive home, and I really don't have any comment beyond that.
I'll go.
Sure, Commissioner Schmidt.
So I agree with my fellow commissioner about the detail with the window. I really like the idea of having the header and the sill express. And I think you could do it in the stucco in another color. I think it just needs to come out proud a little bit so that it really looks like it's there and not just a paint line.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if it just comes out like an eyebrow an inch, you're gonna get the effect. And they can put a little extra foam on. There's a lot of ways to do that easily. But what I would encourage for the next meeting is maybe just do a section through the window system, just to say, this is how I'm bumping out the header piece. Here's how I go through my windows. Because when the window details are there, it really helps us to know that you guys have thought through quality windows and how that assembly is going to work, and that you're going to have good trim details. I appreciate the rest of the drawings, but a detail through there would be fantastic.
I'm sorry, you can't speak unless the public hearing's open, so.
Right, you're here at the study meeting now. You're going to come back again for the action meeting. So even though we might let you go through, you're not done. So for the next meeting, just pick a spot in the drawings, throw in a little detail section through the header and the sill and the window system there. And then that will give us the confidence that you know where you're going with that, and that it isn't going to get changed in construction. And then we're going, what happened? So I think if you add that, that'll clarify what we're looking for in that area. The rest of the project I think is well done. I didn't see any real concerns, and I think it's going to look nice. So looking forward to it. Thanks.
Commissioner Say?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very nicely tailored home, very nice style and massing with this kind of modern Tudor, if you will. Yeah, the reason I was kind of questioning that detail at your window trim is because it can look cheapy if it's not well done. So if you mentioned that you may be using a pre-manufactured product, so maybe along with the section detail that you provide for the next go round, you actually have a spec sheet or something to show us what it is you're planning to use. There's, I don't have the address, but there's a project being constructed right now on Hillside near Alvarado. And that detail just looks horrible. It just looks really cheap. And I think we all know which house that is. And so just it's a nicely designed home, just would like you to pay a little attention to this one element because it can add a lot of interest to your windows. I mean, it's very pared down, it's modern, but that kind of shadow detail, even just the edge, how sharp the corners are versus a rounded corner, those can all express itself on the finished product. So thank you. Oh, not asking you anything, just comments, making comments.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'll just briefly say I do like it. I think it does a good job. I like portion of the windows, the massing, it's all pretty good. I think that although it's, and I might be the only one who thinks this, which is totally fine. I think that even though it's a modern Tudor, I still feel like the absence of anything in those large gable ends in the first story on the left side and the second story on the right side when you're looking at it, it looks a little bit like Dead Space to me. So I think it could use something small, maybe like a vent or something else. I'm not really sure. If it's investigated and it looks like that isn't going to add to the design, then I don't think it's not a deal breaker for me. I think overall the design is good. So yeah.
I personally agree with my fellow commissioners. I think it's a beautiful design. When I first looked at the rendering, which by the way, thank you, it's a beautiful rendering, very helpful set of plans, by the way. It seemed a little elongated because you have the Tudor, really steep roof, and the windows seem a little bit, they could be maybe a tad wider. I don't know why, but then now I'm staring at it for the last 10 minutes and it seems to grow on me. Like I said, the house is beautiful, but maybe look at potentially widening the windows a little bit to see what that does. It may not do anything. I'm just, like I said, that was the first reaction. Otherwise, I think it's great. Any other comments?
Yeah, I actually really, I like the width of the windows, but I'm not big, I don't so much like large windows, but I actually think my colleague at Commissioner Shores has an interesting idea with the vent. I think that could look really nice and kind of pull it down a little bit to sort of bring the eye down. And also the comment about the stoop coming in at the same level from my other colleague. I think that's very classy. I think that would be something to think about. So the level at the front stoop, yeah. That's it.
I agree. Any motions?
I'll make a motion that we bring this project back on.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Fay. Do we have any discussion? And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-0-1. Action is not appealable. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Moving on to 10C, 1472 Drake Avenue. Were any commissioners not able to visit this project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte regarding the project? Seeing none, I'll let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. May we please have a staff report?
This application is for design review for a new two-story single-unit dwelling and attached garage located at 1472 Drake Avenue, zoned R1. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing dwelling and attached garage and build a new two-story single-unit dwelling and attached garage. The proposed floor area is 3,016 square feet, where 3,020 square feet is the maximum allowed. The new dwelling would have 4 bedrooms. The attached garage provides 2 parking spaces, 1 covered and 1 uncovered parking space. Staff would like to note a special permit is not required in cases where an existing attached garage is being replaced with a new attached garage. All zoning code requirements have been met. The project also includes a junior accessory dwelling unit attached to the garage. JADU application is administrative only and not reviewed by the Planning Commission. Staff has determined the JADU complies with JADU regulations. Staff would also note that the Planning Commission received an email regarding this project from Rich Sargent after preparation of the staff report. A copy of that email has been provided to you. This concludes my summary of the staff report. Staff is available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? No, I'm going to open the public hearing then. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Debo Sodipo. I am absolutely delighted to have an opportunity to present this project before you. I've had a lot of fun working on it for my client. My client is here this evening. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to, first of all, just describe or introduce the project very quickly. So the site is one on Drake Avenue that as you face the building, coming from right to left, basically the ground slopes gently from right to left. So on that side, there's an approximate 7-foot drop from at the rear, from the right of the property to the left of the property. And there's a public alley behind. Just to describe the project very quickly, on the second floor, there are 4 bedrooms en suite, and there's a master bedroom that overlooks the rear yard. Downstairs, when you come into the building, there's a formal living room with a formal dining room and a nice butler's pantry that introduces you to the kitchen. On the back of the building, you have the combination of the formal living room, the family room, the informal dining room, and the family room. With that combo, you have a kitchen, a dining room, and a family room. There's a media wall that is accessible from, you can see from the island when you're doing food prep in the kitchen. You can also see from the dining room and from the family room. There's a JADU. We've been very careful in terms of the wall that separates the JADU from the rest of the building. So that wall provides for good sound insulation in terms of how we're providing for a fireplace insert, and we've made it kind of thicker. Also, the JAD really functional where it is. In terms of the roof, at the high roof, we have asphalt shingles, and then we have a good mix where we balance the roof in front with a standing seam roof in front, and then we have skirts on the sides with asphalt shingles. Then for the outdoors, At the back, we've provided for three areas. There's the deck that we have. It's an expansive deck. Then we have a lower level that has pervious pavers. And then there's also a lawn. We've been very careful in terms of water conservation. Then in the front yard, we've tried to use some drought-tolerant plants. And also in terms of drainage, you can see that we have a network of area drains where we're able to pick up storm runoff. So down through the downspouts, we go into vegetated areas, then into area drains. And then we've designed, well, we have a preliminary design for a nice dry well that will basically take all the runoff. We've run this by Martin Kwan of your Public Works Department, and he's entirely satisfied with what we're proposing. Also, in terms of our trees in front, we have a Chinese pistache on the left. In the middle, we do have magnolia, and we also have a Japanese blueberry. Then we have a street tree that we're preserving, which is the California sycamore. We have a nice gray pavers for the driveway that kind of match the white and black combination that we're using for the exterior. I think that, in my opinion, the rendering actually came out nicely, especially with the low shrubs and drought-tolerant shrubs that we're using. We've been very careful. Now, I wanted to be able to make sure that I can address the letter that came in from the sergeant. And I'd like to address that letter very quickly. So in terms of, I had actually driven around and I wanted to be able to draw your attention to two things. First, on sheet A6.0 of our submittal. A6.0 shows streetscape elevation. You will see from those streetscape elevations that we have a number of buildings with larger windows. Mr. Sergeant Sims appears to talk about the size of our windows, but there are several buildings that have tall windows. They also have wide windows. The one thing I wanted to talk about that, then for our project, the owner, and I've talked to our owner, the one thing that I'd like to be able to, that I would concede, that I'd like to be able to talk about has to do with divided light. And I've talked to the owner and he would we just like a condition of saying, do divided lights for this project. And we are 100% willing to do that. Now, in terms of the frame, we have black frames, and for environmental sustainability, we're using recycled wood for the frames, and they're going to be black frames. And I actually had two pictures that I had added, well, a series of pictures. They were for 1516 Bernal and 1528. So let's start with 1516 Bernal. You take 1516 Bernal and you compare to our project. You approve this project. The front porch is actually kind of narrow. So if you look from the side, there's it's almost like you have 2 feet 8 or 3 feet between the front porch columns and the back wall. So from my standpoint, our project actually reads better from the street, and also the fascia trim at our upper level versus, in this case, I guess there's a white fascia trim at the upper level and then the darker trim at the lower level. But if you take a good look at our project, and then if you take a look at the columns in terms of, because I think Mr. Sergeant raised the issue of column size. So I took 2 pictures just to make sure you can compare this exterior to the exterior that we're showing. And also I want to talk about window trim and also window size. So if you look at the window sizes for this project, the window sizes are, well, they're decent size windows, and also they're wider windows. And obviously you can design headers, because questions were raised as to whether we can accommodate headers on our windows. Without doubt, we've already checked that. I can 100% tell you that yes, because the size of headers is not driven by the height of windows, it's driven by the width of your window. We don't have any window that is so wide that actually would constitute an issue in terms of being able to actually address header sizes. So that takes care of that comment. Now, can we go to the next building, please? That's 1528 Bernal, not this one. Yeah, so with 1528 Bernal, one of the questions that was raised had to do with the thickness of our columns. Obviously, this building has columns that are thicker than the one for 1516 Bernal. But ours kind of falls, I'd say, halfway between this project and 1516 Bernal. So if the condition of approval is to say, increase the thickness of your columns by 2 inches, certainly we have no issue with that. Issue of column size is kind of subjective. This is kind of what my owner or the owner fell in love with. The only difference, at least for us, is that we wanted, when the rendering was done, we wanted square columns and they came out round in the renderings. So if you look at our rendering, it shows as round, but we actually want square columns. Also, in terms of the windows for this project was approved, but these windows are not as tall. You can just look at the bottom of the window versus the top of the standing seam. There's like, you have a little bit more of wall height, but can we go back to the previous? No, not this one. No, not. Yes, so there's like, this, obviously this window is taller because you have like a little less space between the bottom of this window and the top of the lower roof. So I would say that if I go through all, then there's also the issue of the front door. So here's the front door for this project. Now, if we go to our project, please. In the case of our project, we have a more imposing front door, if I might say. And our door is not 6 feet 8 inches tall. It's taller than that. Also, plate height at the first floor is 9 feet. Plate height at the upper floor is 8 feet. So I go through all those comments, and I would say that the only thing that I would say I would agree with has to do with the divided lights. And we are 100% in agreement with doing divided lights. If that can be a condition of approval, I would say that I am really proud of this design. The owner is happy with it. The front columns, if we have to increase it by 2 inches, I have absolutely no problem with increasing the size of the column by 2 inches. But thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I'm hoping that this is my first project before the City of Burlingame Planning Commission, but I'm hoping that I'll be here more often. I have to say that I've taken the time just to study what you do, gone through your reports from over the past few years, and I must congratulate you for how meticulous you are in terms of how you address the detail on buildings. And I think it really spurs people to think more about how they present their projects. And I have taken the time to make sure that every element of this project I have gone through very carefully. So again, thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. That appreciate the thoroughness as well as providing some examples for us to compare by. Just have a few questions, mostly around inconsistencies that I'm seeing in the drawings between your elevations and your renderings. So I guess I'll start at the back. At the back, rear elevation on A 3.1, let's see, wish I had a pointer. Above that multi-sliding door, I believe it is there. It looks like that door area recesses back from the face of the house in comparison to how you've designed the renderings to look. And the floor plan doesn't seem to suggest this recessed element. So just asking for a clarification on your intended design.
Yeah, on the floor plan, there's a dashed line that kind of shows there's like a slight difference between the upper floor and the lower floor. Actually, on the, I think it's the site plan that shows the extent of the upper floor. I think the site plan is A 1.0, and it shows the footprint of the second floor on top of the first floor.
Well, it's more about looking at the main floor of the house in your floor plan. Seems to suggest that the multi-sliding door is in like your rear wall is on one plane. on the plan. But in your rear elevation, it seems to look like a section of that whole family room area or the kitchen nook and family room area recesses back.
It was,
Um,
as I recall, I think a 6 or 8 inch
It does recess back 6 to
very slightly, yes. Very slightly.
Well,
So then if
the
that's the
plan's
case,
not working.
then I just think you need to take a look at it might be a drafting error, but because if that's the case, then the windows at the the junior ADU, that wall should also recess back, if that's the case. That the whole upper floor is cantilevering by 8 inches, like you're saying, over the lower floor.
I will, yeah, there was a very slight recess of that one.
I mean, there could be a recess. I just wanted to point out
Yeah.
that if you could maybe take a look at that.
I already made that note.
Right, okay, and then, on the front, oh, no, let me see, was it the front elevation? The side elevation on A 3.0, that's your left side I believe it is. Again, in plan, there is a jog in the wall, between that front bedroom, oh, let me see, between the garage and the junior ADU, and that doesn't seem to be reflected on your drawing. Oh, actually, I see a very, very faint line at the top of that second step next to the
It's there.
window. I don't know if that's intended jog in the wall. So just just having the line weights be
I
reflected
think it's the line weight.
appropriately,
What-
that will help us to read the elevations. I see the very faint line there now. Maybe you can correct that on the next go around.
Okay.
And then the windows on the front elevation seem to be different than your rendering. On your rendering, the sill of your upstairs windows sit above the roof line. In your elevation, they sit at your roof line, at the standing metal roof. And so I don't know if you have a preferred intent. See in that elevation how the window sill is sitting right on top of the standing seam metal roof.
Yeah, the intent is what we have on the rendering.
Sorry,
What we have on the rendering is the intent.
but on the rendering is the intent. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Faust?
Now I have to remember what I was gonna ask. Yeah, what was your thought about, on your, you were talking about the pillars, in the front. What was the thought about adding the stack stone, or I think it's stack stone, when that's the only place it appears on the building? Did you have a, reason why you wanted the stack stone rather than just plain?
Oh, well, it could be plain. I don't have a,
Oh, no, I was just wondering,
no.
you're
no.
there.
In fact, in talking to the owner, the preference is to actually maybe make the column just a little thicker and make it plain from bottom to top.
Okay, and then, also, I'm not entirely sure I understood what you were mentioning about your, I'm looking at the windows in the front,
Yeah.
the three that we are all, most of us are talking about. Was there a reason why, you may or may not be able to push a window up that far on a header, but is there a reason why you thought they need to be that tall? Guess that's my question.
It was actually an owner preference.
Okay,
And so I kind of initially go to the owner, could we maybe pull down just a little bit? You know, it's an owner preference.
got it. And finally, just for clarification, because you used several previously approved projects on your presentation, I will call it skimpy porches. We don't do those anymore because they're skimpy. And I think at some point we all realize a porch needs to have some
Yeah.
kind of presence. So
I agree.
yeah, thank you for having a presence on your, so
Thank you.
That was my,
Any other questions? The applicant? The only other question I have, just because it's in the packet, is why are you submitting for a demolition permit?
Oh, I just want to make sure that we have the entire packet ready for the owner is kind of anxious to go. So I thought, well, I better make sure that I have both the demolition permit and the plans for planning already.
But they're not planning on tearing down the house prematurely before?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
We do have one public comment email submitted. I could read that now. This is from Lynn Carson. I find it difficult to see yet another beautiful historic home in Burlingame destroyed. The Burlingame neighborhoods are losing the charm of unique historic homes in favor of white shipping container houses. One of the characteristics that makes Burlingame a sought-after town to live in are the homes. If someone doesn't like the style of a particular beautiful older home, don't buy it. At what point will the Planning Commission step in and stop the leveling of our beautiful Burlingame homes?
Okay. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do we have any comments? Who wants to start?
I can start. So I appreciate the presentation and he touched on some of the issues that I was having with the design and from Rich Sargent's email. I still think the windows are too big, especially the front windows. So I'm glad that the owner has decided to put divided lights, because actually on A6.0, all of the neighborhood has divided lights. So in keeping with the neighborhood, I think that's a must. But the windows are still too big in my opinion. You know, you showed the photo of 1516 Bernal. It had more detail in the gables, and I think the gables of this house are pretty plain and could use a bit more detailing to add interest to the front of the house. I like your agreement to make the columns a bit beefier and to potentially remove the faux veneer stone. I think on those columns, whenever I see that faux veneer, it doesn't work when it's 12 inches around. You're just seeing the edges of the veneer, and it looks cheap. So I would be in favor of removing them entirely and just having a beefier wood column. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question of staff. Yep. What's the rules on the deck in the back? Is there any, because it's almost like a second floor balcony at that point. So I'm just wondering about privacy for the houses to the downhill from that.
So in this particular case, we have a downsloping lot. We consider a second floor deck to be at least, I believe it's 9 feet above adjacent grade. So at that point, think of it like if you're at a level lot, the second floor would be about 9 feet above. So in this case, it's less than that. So we still consider it a first floor deck, no special permit required. They're not limited to the square footage.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schmidt?
You know, I read through Mr. Sargent's email and have a lot of agreement with him. This is, I think the Bernal examples aren't necessarily great examples on Drake. I think that there is a lot of really nice houses on that block that are a bit more craftsman style and a little bit more historically noted. So I think his point is well taken. I think the windows are too tall on the front, and you got to remember that that's a western exposure. So those windows are going to cook. I have some good sized windows on my western exposure, and I hate them. So something to, you know, it's either you're going to have shades down or you're just going to take a lot of heat. So I would actually, as much as you might think you want the view, I would consider the fact that you're going to get a lot of sun on that side. I think that I agree with the commissioner about the in the gable end. You know, I've got scribbles in there saying maybe a material change would help that scale quite a bit. We've been seeing a lot of people take the material all the way up to the ridge, and it's just looking like something's missing. So I think that there's an opportunity there to improve upon that scale. The divided lights is huge. I think the columns, they stuck out for me. And if you go look at 1151 Rosedale, that is one that has recently completed, and I think it did a very poor job of doing those columns with the material and how skinny they are, and it's just way out of scale. So it's a really great example of how not to do this. And so I think we're concerned about that, and I think sometimes the square columns, as they square all the way up and down, they look skinny. And I actually, there's a few examples, and particularly down on Howard, where people have done a more angled base to their column, or angled all the way up, to where you might be starting at 18 inches and getting down to 10 at the top. And I think it gives you a much more dynamic look, and helps to kind of avoid this skinny. Or the other way would be to build in between the columns a low wall and help expand that material and make it be more than just a column base. I am a little concerned about the downslope on the left side, and the retaining wall that you're going to do, and how that impacts the neighbor next door. So I would suggest, before coming back the next time, having a little section of the site, because you're raising the garage slab 2-3 feet above where it is now. So somewhere there's got to be some retainage there to even out what's happening on the neighbor. And I would just hate for you to get that far along and then get caught with the civil and having to change your design quite a bit. So take a look at that for the next time. It's not, it's not killing you today. It's just want to make sure that the neighbor, both sides of the neighbors are happy and can make that work. Window scale is I think a big one here. They're big windows. I know the dividing will help bring down the scale, but there's still a lot of big windows facing west. So I would think about that a little differently. And that's all I got.
Mr. Say.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners thus far. I just wanted to also mention that the window sizes should be addressed, and also agree that the adding some divided lights will really help in this situation. I don't know if you want to consider, actually, I wanted to weigh in on what I think the letter that was read to us, about we as a commission cannot weigh in on color. So though somebody may be concerned about the preponderance of white and black houses in the city, that's not in our purview to comment on that. However, we can talk about materials and things like that. And in looking at your stone cladding on the columns, led me to think about maybe a consideration for applying a different type of material on part of the house, just to add some architectural interests or textural interests to the house, whether that's along the front living room with some cladding around that whole face there, and with reduced size windows, maybe that's add some interest to the house. Might be something you can consider. I also feel that the gable ends could have a little bit more attention, and I think that could benefit the design. I think the split finish on the roofing materials is fine, with the limit of the standing seam metal roof over the front porch. I think there've been some examples provided now on how to address the columns at the front porch, which I agree with. But mainly about window sizing, adding the grids, clarifying some of the details on the elevations to be consistent with the renderings will help. But I think the massing seems fine on the house, and I do appreciate the lot of commentary in the presentation, just the thought that was put into the presentation. Thank you.
I just, yeah, thank you very for the detailed presentation. That was very helpful. And I wish more people had examples of stuff that they were going for already built to look at. That was also very, very helpful. So thank you. I just, I agree with everything my commissioners have said so far. I did just want to point out, there is actually, triangular pieces of wood in the gable ends right now with fan lights that I missed because the rendering is good, but it didn't come across that well. And I had to look at the elevations pretty hard, which is, it's good that that was identified as somewhere that could use a little bit of extra attention. So that's something that I think is definitely in the right direction. They could stand out a little bit more with like maybe a belly band or something, or like just a very small piece of trim. But that also might just be because of like the time of day and the rendering. It didn't show up that well. So either way, that's the fan light piece of wood there is something I would have suggested if it wasn't there. So I think that's a good direction. But yeah, especially divided lights as well. I think that's pretty very important on this street specifically. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't even,
No, I figured I had to look at it.
But-
It took me a couple minutes.
It's very small. Can I just add one thing for the presenters? This is probably, in my opinion, it's probably the most, I say this, the most beautiful block in Easton. And the reason is, are one of the most beautiful. It has a lot of old historic homes. It has new ones that have been done very meticulously and with a lot of attention to detail and materials. And so it's feels like a high bar, I know, but just being informed about the context of that street in particular is maybe helpful and might help process this further. So thanks.
I have nothing unique to add. So do we have any other comments or motion?
I'll make a motion that it comes back on action.
I'll second that.
I just wanted to add one comment that I didn't have any issue with the attached garage as a part of the conditions. That's
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner, seconded by Commissioner Haran. Any other discussion? No? All right, may we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0-0-1. We'll see you back at action. Thank you very much. Oh, action is not appealable. All right, that's it for our study session. We are on to agenda item number 11, commissioner reports. Are there any commissioner reports? Quiet couple weeks. Okay. Agenda item number 12, director reports. Any director reports?
Yeah, the only thing to report is from the June 17th City Council meeting, City Arborist Rich Holtz and Assistant City Attorneys Mansell did a similar presentation to you on the tree ordinance update. So they presented and then also got a lot of good feedback from council. And I don't know, Scott, if you want to add any more in terms of when the ordinance might be coming back.
Sure, yeah, and I think the council, if you were able to watch the meeting, they really took the planning commission's comments very seriously, and of course the public's as well. So it was a great discussion. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I'd encourage you to go check it out. We will be bringing it back later, probably this fall, for the city council to look at it. The city council had also said that what they were hoping to do, and staff's still trying to figure out how best to do this, but maybe having some sort of a joint meeting where it could be discussed, or at least a way to facilitate feedback from the commissions at the council meeting. So there's going to be more to follow on that, but that'll be this fall.
Great, thank you very much. Agenda item number 13, future agenda items. Nothing, all right. Number 14, adjournment. It is 8:19 p.m. Thank you very much.